transformation move forward?
I'll start with the need for reform, but I just want to focus on probably the most contentious bit, which is about competition in the private sector, because that's basically where the debate has been over the last couple of weeks, and probably further than that. I mean, the first thing to say, really briefly, because this is something that any government will face, it doesn't matter what party you're in, there are huge pressures on the NHS, largely due to population, demography, more babies are being born, people are living longer. Those two kind of cohorts of people, if you like, are the biggest users of the NHS, and that will continue, and that will mean costs will rise. The second big pressure is technology, both of which I'm, by the way, are very positive. The second thing is technology. £600 million a year at least, in addition to what we spend on technology, comes purely from advances in new medicines, new technologies, new treatments. It is it's a brilliant thing that the NHS is the biggest user of new technology in this country, but it costs us a lot of money. So whoever is in government, and don't let any politician pretend that there's anything different, whoever is in government faces the reality that NHS costs are going through the roof, and we either put a whole load more money into the system, which we probably can't afford, is the consensus right now, or we reform it. And very briefly on the need for reform, I said I want to focus on the most contentious bits, competition in particular. I'd say two things. First of all is what patients want. And the Patients Association are absolutely right. There's this big debate going on, and I think it's largely between ministers trying to reform stuff, whether they're in this government or the previous one, and trade unions and basically hard left-wing groups like the Royal Colleges, who just oppose any change in the NHS, however progressive. They oppose it. Not out of what people want, but because it doesn't meet their own needs. And all of the facts say, all the research, all the polling, the interviews, everything else says people want more choice in the NHS. They love the NHS, they think it's great, but they want more choice, they want more control. They completely buy the Tony Blair argument, which was, I don't care who provides my care, what the system is like behind the curtain, I just want really, really good quality care, right? And that is what people want. And that voice is never, ever heard in this whole debate. It's between ministers and ideological groups. The second point I would make on competition is this, that I was part of the government, not the elected political bit, but the advisors, the kind of backroom boys, if you like. And what we did, we looked at the system, how it operates right now, and not very many people realise that the NHS, while it is absolutely brilliant and it is one of the best systems in the world, and it provides whatever we want whenever we need it, the providers in it, it is a complete mishmash, complete chaos. We found a system where the private sector was being paid more money than the NHS for doing exactly the same work, whether they had any patients or not. So nothing to do with ideology and privatisation or anything else. The private sector was already in there. They were introduced in 2002. Their market share was expanded by ministers every single year till the previous government left office in 2010, to the point at which, by that time, about 1 in 5 hip operations were being done by a private firm. Completely unregulated, completely, no transparency, no one watching, no one kind of understanding what's going on.
So briefly, what will things look like in the future?
So what the reforms are supposed to be about is putting people's voice in control. So if they want more choice, we'll give them more choice. If that means, it doesn't matter, it's the Tony Blair argument. If it's a private sector, it's a public sector, whatever, you can have it, but we will not give the private sector perks, we'll not give them a leg up, we'll not pay them more for doing the same work. It will be a proper level playing field, and it will be patients' choices driving change, not politicians and backroom deals.
Well, we better get a politician involved.